Okay. Thank you.
Well, thanks to Sean for working that up for us.
Are we set, Sean?
Yep.
Okay,
Right.
great. Thank you. Okay, I'll call our meeting to order today. It's 4:02 p.m. We have the LDFA Finance Authority meeting. I'll start with our roll call.
Yeah, and I can do that if you like.
Oh, that'd be great, Gary. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm just going to go in the order that I have it. If I call your name, please just speak up. Mark Canali,
Absent.
Margaret Brum,
Here.
David Rayomi, Dan Immendorfer, Bruce Heikela,
Here.
Leslie Hartman,
Here.
Brian Cherry,
Here.
Jim Hewitt,
Here.
Steve Adamini. So we do have 5 members, Madam Chair, so we can proceed.
Okay, great. So I guess I'll start by asking for a motion to excuse our absent members.
Madam Chairperson, I make a motion to excuse our absent members who have been noted in the record already for their own reasons.
Second.
Thank you. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. And then everyone has received our agenda. Does anyone have any additions or any changes for the agenda today?
No.
Could I get a motion to approve the agenda as stated?
Motion to approve.
I second the motion, Madam Chairperson.
Thanks, Margaret. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And anyone opposed? Okay, so motion carries. I'll just open the floor for some public comment. I don't know if we have any, if all the members that are joining us, I see some new familiar faces. I'm not sure if they're here for part of the presentation or if we have any public comment. So I'll open the floor for that.
I'd like to make a public comment on the Make It Marquette plan specifically.
I'll just ask that you introduce yourself and let us know where you live, please. And then the comments are limited to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Gotcha. My name is Dhruv Patel. I live in Marquette City, county. And with my time, I'd like to address the Make It Marquette plan. I'm part of the project and I think it's really cool. There's a lot of benefit. I study organizational behavior and organizational theory, along with economics and a little bit of political science, and seeing how we utilize local community resources and local community members to promote the community, the Marquette. I mean, I know a lot of us call Marquette home, and one day I'd like to return here and call it home after I go on and, live life and whatnot. But I think that to sustain and to grow this community that we have, the Make It Marquette plan is one of the best ideas we can come up with, utilizing resources within the community rather than focusing on, we can bring, this gigantic corporation in here and we can do this and that. Instead of that, using our grassroots and growing on our own. So with that, I'd like to end my time. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you for your feedback. Anyone else?
Yes, same thing. I'll introduce myself. I'd like to make a public comment for Smart Zone. My name is Caden Reed. I live in Marquette and I have for 5 years. I currently have started a nonprofit called Superior Healing Initiative, and Smart Zone has been a huge help for that, giving me resources to understand setting up documentation, moving forward with website plans, and helping create connections with other local businesses to help us move forward. And yeah, Smart Zone personally has helped me when I was a student at Northern, bringing ideas to life, and at least giving me space to talk and bring my ideas to the community. Even if they didn't go forward very far, it at least allowed me to be heard. And now with this new nonprofit that is going to be helping everyone in our community and moving outwards from there throughout the UP, they're giving me a lot of space to properly bring this forward and get people involved. And again, the connection it's allowing me through the community is unprecedented, and I can't be thankful enough for it. So with that, I will also will end my speaking time, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Any other members of the public?
I'd like to just say thank you very much, LDFA, for supporting the Innovate Marquette Smart Zone. And we appreciate your good questions and comments and recommendations. I'm Rich Vanderveen. I'm Rich Vanderveen. I live at 812 North Front. I'm chair of the Smart Zone Board. I simply want to say thank you to each of you, many of whom I know personally, and welcome the thoughtful comments you've offered in the past, and look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks very much for your support, and we look forward to making some great things happen in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate your comments.
I'll introduce myself because I think this is my first time here and some new faces. My name is Lindsay Dameworth. I am the new Finance and Operations Coordinator for Innovate Marquette Smart Zone and assisting with Invent at NMU. So hello, everyone, and glad to be here.
Well, welcome, Lindsay. Thanks for joining us today, and I appreciate you introducing yourself to our board. Okay, and hearing no further public comment, I'll move on to our new business. And earlier we received a copy of our previous meeting minutes. I want to ask if anyone has any amendments or any comments to that. And if not, if we could have a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Madam Chairperson, I make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting as presented.
Thanks, Margaret. And a second?
Second.
Thanks, Bruce. And all those in favor of approving the last minute meetings, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. So the next item on our agenda is the financial update. And I think we have Katie online with us today. And Katie, I'll turn the floor over to you if you'd like to begin your presentation.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. For the financial report, we actually kind of did a bit of a change in presenting at our last board meeting. We actually had Joe and Paulette present the current financials, and the reasoning behind that is mostly because they are part of the day-to-day operation, so they really know the story that goes into these numbers, more so me, who's just kind of inputting them. So I'm just going to briefly touch on a couple of items, and then I'll kind of turn that over to Joe, if that's okay with Joe, to just kind of give a brief overview. And in that packet too, we really kind of shrunk down the parts of the financial statements just to give you guys kind of a broad overview, but then the actual more detailed financials are also available in that packet, I believe. So couple of things. We just wrapped up the fiscal year September 30th, 2020 audit, and that went very well. The Immaculate Toutant Nardi Hill and Katona firm did the audit for us. Laura Provost was the main auditor, and then it was overseen by Paul Nardi. They did a wonderful job. They're always excellent to work with, and they didn't have any adjustments or anything like that that needed to happen to our financials. So I'm not going to go over the audited financials, but I will have a copy of that audit available for the LDFA if they like. They're supposed to give us a hard copy and then also an electronic copy, so I can work on forwarding that to whoever needs it, Gary or Leslie. And so anyway,
And we'll distribute that to the board when we get it.
Okay,
Sorry,
perfect. But like I said, so there were no material changes on the financials that we presented, and the audit is a little bit more in depth. There's notes to the financials and everything that aren't included in the regular financials, so that'll be available for you. The one thing that we did talk about when we went over the audit was more of what's to come in the future, and that being that there have been some changes in our reporting requirements as far as revenue recognition and lease recognition. Right now, the new standards and the new revenue and lease recognition doesn't really affect our financials right now. But if things are to change in the future, those are items that might change how our financials are presented. And when I say the way that it's changing, it's just like a timing thing, when we're recognizing revenue and, our leases, what might show up on the balance sheet instead of the profit and loss, so there might be some changes coming down the road. And if those changes do occur, we can point those out and let you know how that is different from how we've previously presented things. But that's all stuff to come, nothing that's affecting current financials or anything right now. But that was a big talk with our audit presentation, is what's coming down the pipeline later and how that may or may not affect the Smart Zone. So that was pretty much the audit. They presented that for us at the Finance Committee, and then we presented it to our board. Other than that, we do have current fiscal year financials through March 31st available. The only thing that I want to mention on that is that we did have a PPP loan for $74,200, and that was forgiven this past March. So there is an income line on there, and that liability is no longer on the balance sheet. So that's kind of the one thing that I wanted to touch on. And I will turn it over to Joe to give a rundown of the financials then. And then I'll be available if there's any other questions as well. So.
If I could interrupt just a second, sorry. I just wanted, for the record, Dan Emmendorfer has entered the meeting. Right, Dan? You there?
Yes. Thank you.
Good to see you, Dan. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, yeah, so we didn't include the actual financial statements updated in the package. You guys have all that. We did want to simplify down, with Mark Link on our committee now, our financial committee. He did break these down and simplify this down versus kind of this dashboard here. And the dashboard really breaks down majority of what we always look at in the financials. And then obviously in the next pages, the detail, follows right behind. We did show in actuals versus budgeted, the TIF grant revenue. It's a little bit higher by about 98,000. And then in our invent program, actual versus budgeted, we ran over about 3,827. It's in reimbursement in kind. There was a revenue line item here, which was, we did at the beginning look at offset from Invent to NMU and generate revenue for Invent to NMU. I pulled that because that really was offset by labor by me taking on the two roles of the entrepreneurial services outreach director and coordinator. There was a position within our organization. Catherine Stenberg was there, and Catherine took another job with a company out of California as a marketing director. I chose not to fill those two positions and maintain everything on that side of business because the Invent to NMU program, we did receive a grant to continue that program for another year. And so what I've been doing, and you'll see in this presentation, is I've been working on the entrepreneur outreach and services side of the company to reorganize that. That's really the front end of the organization. And you'll see that throughout the presentation. So we were in total revenue, actual 648, budgeted 614. So we were 33,757 over. Operating expenses, you can see here, actuals 384,028, budgeted 576. We were underspent by 192. much of that is those salaries that I took over to reorganize the front end of the organization, as well as travel and events were low because of the COVID restrictions. I mean, we have plans to utilize these dollars come October for some platforms and launches, which we'll talk about later in the presentation. Operating income, see here, actual. You can see we budgeted 38, there's 226, 192. Other income, here's that PPP and the forgiveness of that. And then other expenses, we're under there. Net income, in this 335, 909, budgeted 333, 425. And then there's 302, 474 is a variance there. So unrestricted, we had an actual of 874, 562, budgeted 574, 44, we're at 304, 15. Any questions on that? Okay, and we can, I don't need to, if you want me to step through the whole entire budget documentation, I can, but that's just simplified, we simplified that in that upper section. Was there anything in the actual budget that anybody wanted to talk about? Anything in the financials anybody want to talk about? Financials look really good right now. We've obviously, with COVID, we've really focused all of our attention on the front end of the business and organizing that. And you'll see that later in the presentation, really what our plan is over the next year and a half.
Excuse me, Joe.
Yep. Yes,
On
Margaret.
that slide, or excuse me, on that page 1, if you scroll to the top, that's $74,000. No, I'm sorry. You went, keep going up, one more page, okay. The $74,000 PPE loan forgiveness, I saw the number for 74,000 still there. And then I think in the next column it was gone. Could you find that just to confirm?
In the next column down below in the budget.
Yes, it's down below the current, there it is. It's line 451. It says 74,000 income and then budget, percent of our budget. So that line doesn't account, excuse me, my accounting is rusty, but that line doesn't show the loan forgiveness. It just shows that income was from the PPP,
Correct.
please.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And that was forgiven.
I don't know why, but we didn't really put the PPP in the budget for the forgiveness. So that just wasn't in the budget.
That would be like a below the line item because that's not taxable being forgiven, right? It's not a taxable event. Is that what Margaret's question maybe was?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I loved hearing that it was forgiven. I just wanted to make sure we had a piece of paper reflecting as of this moment that loan had been forgiven. So we had it for future people. I don't know, people for future reviewers, I guess. People always seem to forget good news. They remember bad news, but they forget the good news. And this is good news.
Yeah, we do have something from the bank and the SBA confirming that has been forgiven. It just, like I said, it was kind of a timing thing actually with the PPP loan. It was received and pretty much mostly spent as of fiscal year ended September 30th, 2020, but then didn't get forgiven until the following March. And it was actually something we went over with the auditors, whether we should include that in last year's financials or this one. And they said the more conservative was to not pick it up as income until it was like actually forgiven versus anticipating that it was going to be forgiven and including it in the prior year. So it's kind of a timing thing, and that's why it didn't end up in the budget. But like you said, it was forgiven, and that's a positive thing. And we do have documentation showing that it was forgiven in March.
Excellent.
You'll be also interested, too, Margaret, 2 issues that I didn't bring up in this particular meeting, but we did revise our purchasing procedures and our purchasing policy. And we did that with our finance committee. And that did include that tri-party bidding that you had discussed with us, as well as we did build grant relationships with grant writers in the local area who only get paid based on the success of a grant. So I didn't bring that up in the board meeting today, but I want to make a note of that, Mark, because you had made mention to both of those things. And
I appreciate the follow-up. Thank you.
And you will see in here, we have 2 more grants on the table right now, and I'll explain that as well. Any other questions on financials? I think we look really good right now. You guys were in a unique position with some grants and some good financials here to really end off the year strong, and then fill those two positions within the entrepreneurial services and outreach side, and really drive next year on some great initiatives. I did send the Make It Marquette campaign information in the video and the website to show you guys that, and I get your feedback on that as well. Hopefully you guys got a chance to check it out. If not, please do. It's really great work from our marketing team. One of the other big things too I want to focus on a lot now is the collaboration of the economic development organizations. We spent so much time collaborating and coordinating with the EDOs. You see it in many of our initiatives and in many of the campaigns that we're working on. That alliance is in full motion forward. And that was a huge initiative that I started, and you've heard it through all the meetings. And you'll see those partnerships really coming together in this documentation. And I really want to make sure you guys know that, I mean, we've taken it on as our full-blown initiative to align the EDO resources into with them, all of us together aligning to make a really great innovation ecosystem here in the city of Marquette. And I'm so proud of the work that the teams have done, and the other EDO partners have been so involved. And it's been a wonderful thing to see this whole thing come together in terms of alignment with all of our EDO partners. And I think if you spoke with those other EDOs in the community, you would hear that echo between all the organizations. I think it's super critical for scaling and creating jobs. Okay, so I'm going to move forward with this and kind of go through my update. The Make It Marquette Remote Work Attraction Update and Launch. I did send in a separate email for that, and you guys check that out. I really think that we've defined in a really neat way an opportunity here for our own community for remote work and remote work initiatives, and allow them some information and outreach to remote work here locally, but also a huge attraction campaign is in process to make sure that when people come to our area to remote work and be tech nomads in the area, that they have a whole bunch of resources and an actual ability to come and enjoy the atmosphere here, participate in the economy, as well as potentially create new businesses and startups in the area to stay here and work here. Innovation ecosystem and innovation opportunities. We've really now aligned. We talked about in our last meetings about aligning our community resources with certain types of technology that are scalable technology. Our focus with the MEDC has been scalable technology, and also aligning with the university and aligning with local businesses to give the best pathway for innovation and what those opportunities will be. And I'll explain those in more detail. We really got those dialed in. Innovation ecosystem and the innovation process. We have a fully defined innovation process from incubation to scale. We're tying in funding models to be able to fund from start to scale, as well as aligning all the grants and all applicable grants associated with that scaling process in a formalized way. And then the Innovation Ecosystem Hub, and we'll talk about options there and what we're working on, and 2 significant grants tied to this that we applied for last year but didn't receive. I think this year we have a significantly higher chance of getting these. And then some top projects we're working on in scalable tech, which are super exciting. Then some things about talent review and what we're doing with our staff. And then obviously the responsibility statements. I want to go through that one more time. So the innovation opportunities, sustainability, accessibility, and connectivity. If you look at the Make It Marquette campaign and what we're doing with the Smart Zone is to create scalable startup technology that's sustainable, that allows our community to be accessible and connected. When you look at connectivity, you look at also safe connectivity, which includes cybersecurity and connective platforms. These are all scalable tech. Sustainability really is remediation, water quality, water purity, environmental sustainability. Really focusing. We have a ton of great ideas in this space, and we really want to focus our opportunity here. This is very at the hearts of all of our local community members. This is at the heart of many organizations in the local community about sustaining the outdoor recreational asset in the environment here, as well as the water quality and purity. We have access to 20% of the world's fresh water in our backyard. Lots of great scalable technology coming in this space and connecting these spaces. Accessibility really is an outdoor recreational asset, whether it be outdoor recreation products, limited mobility, outdoor recreational products, accessibility for outdoor limited mobility and full inclusion, as well as additional technologies for people with no mobility to be able to still enjoy our outdoor recreational asset. And we'll continue to work on, there's many scalable ideas in that space. And then connectivity is connected platforms and community connected platforms. There's a ton of them. And then we've got a bunch of them in our organization right now that we're working on. We'll talk about a few of them in a minute. So really focusing, this is, if you look at Northern Michigan University and the initiatives there, in sustainability, accessibility, and connectivity. Tons. You've got the Cybersecurity Institute. You've got all of the accessibility, outdoor recreation, and sustainability projects that NOLA's working on, and environmental impact. You've got also a bunch of community businesses and community members who can support those beyond incubation, but also these things are at the core of our local community. And so when we go on the outreach, and you'll see this, coming up, our outreach will be really focused on education in these spaces to ensure our community members understand what these things are and that they're thinking of ideas in this space to be able to assist us in moving forward with these. When we talk about the innovation ecosystem process, okay, so this process, we talked about this early on about really defining a process of innovation. Now, incubation and acceleration and pre-incubation are very clear terms that spread across many organizations around the United States and around the world as process to ramp up and launch, educate, and launch products and businesses. What we do really well now in the early stages here is pre-incubation. We have quick explorers and validation here in Invent NMU. The Smart Zone really picks it up with NMU and takes it here to this 4 process. We keep the same clear, concise language with Make It Marquette. We make it work, we make it well, we make it for everyone. And you'll see as we go through the presentation, prepare and predict in P1 really is this early stage to prepare ideas to create an MVP, right? Minimum value proposition. Protect and prototype. This is really developing prototypes and protecting the ideas and make sure that if this idea makes it through validation, that we're creating a space there that where the client or the business can hold some intellectual property or maybe some trademarks or things. And then people and partners is really when we engage majority of our local EDO partners. And we begin with identifying staffing, talent retention, additional partners, corporate partnerships, anybody who can help support this business to begin to move on to manufacturing and then begin to scale and that's proliferate and profit. And you'll see the detail in these preceding slides. All of these P1-1, 2, 3, 4, there's Growth Wheel, which we have been using for a number of years. It's a fantastic business development program. There's Growth Wheel sheets that follow this whole entire process. There's also some really great potentials for funding here. I don't have any, I can't for final details, but we're working on a really great initiative with NMU right now to potentially build an awesome platform to support this for early stage capital. And then also a crowdfunding platform potentially, which would be fantastic to do. We've got to get through some more details on that, but that would also follow this. So these are all very solid standard growth wheel practices through our process. If you look at the growth wheel process itself, it talks about internal organization, external organization. It's a little bit confusing and complicated that we found with reaching out to community and talking to them about it. So we really want to simplify that, turn it into very defined terms that people understand, so we can also educate our local market citizens and throughout the UP of what this language means and really simplify this process to make it very clear. So as we're moving through, we can see that incubation is about a 6-month process. We plan on having right now continuously about 100 to 120 clients come in pre-incubation per year. 30 come into the incubation process twice a year. So every 6 months, 30 new clients come through here. And then 5 to 10 clients twice a year come out of this and go into acceleration and really accelerate themselves to funding. We really want to drive our angel network and utilize the Michigan Venture Network, which we're all tied into now, to be able to drive ideas through all the way to where we can get to scale and get these clients invested in. And you'll see that happening right now with some clients as I go through the client list here. So Make It Work really is the next phase of that. Still in crowdfunding and friends and family, early stage grants, BAF grants, where we've got a full grant database now that we've developed. And then obviously all the partners we're working with in this particular space. And you'll see the partners change. And you'll see as the business begins to develop and grow and manufacture its own products or license its products, you'll see some of these other funding opportunities as it begins to scale all the way to the end. What I said early on, and you guys may remember, without full alignment in an EDO ecosystem, it's very difficult to get projects to scale. New projects from incubation all the way to scale. We have that alignment now. All the EDO partners have been working collaboratively. We've been working very closely together to ensure that when we find these winners here in these tech scalable startups, that we're all supporting them collectively to the end. And that's what we found. And you'll see that here in further presentation. We do also have metrics, smart metrics associated with this. So you see the process of moving through P1, P2, P3, P4. This is really the speed to scale and the retention of clients throughout the process. We want to make sure that when we have good clients, you're retaining them, but also if ideas begin to fall off, why are they falling off? And we need to be able to identify that and look back at that and say, okay, we have 120 clients coming in here. Why at the end do we have 30, and how do we continue to increase the number of clients that make it through the incubation process? And then also speed to create FTE. We talked a lot about before too, moving the organization to a project-based accounting system. So each project has its own account number, has its own value as we support that project through from start to finish. As we allocate resources and services to them, how fast did we get them through the process, and how successful were they in creating jobs at the end, tied back to the resources that we applied to them. Make a very clear pathway for you guys on the LDFA board to say, yep, we've got 36 clients that came through. Here's the projects we did. Here's all the services we allocated. And each one of those created this many jobs across the board. And it'll be very clear for us at that point with these metrics to see that, to say this client came in and spent this much time throughout the innovation process. We applied this much services to it. And bam, now we have 4 or 5 jobs or 10 jobs or 100 jobs, depending on how much support we were able to give the organization. The innovation ecosystem hub. So this is the innovation process we're following, and it's very clearly defined. And then we also have this innovation ecosystem hub. We were notified, would have been almost 5 months ago now, that Northern Michigan University was expanding their operations into our existing building, and that we were, we were going to have to find a new home. And so we did evaluate a bunch of new spaces, and actually came up with obviously an amazing opportunity at the Flagstar Bank building was our number one option. This was, you saw in the news, Verdia purchased this building. They're beginning to renovate this. We have alignment with all the EDO partners to relocate together collectively in the Flagstar Bank building. And we're in we have really supporting that initiative to be there with everyone. I did evaluate other buildings, and those are still an option. But this was really kind of the one we built a lot of our conversation around because of the collaboration there between all the EDO ecosystem partners. But for purposes right now, this is, there's no real definition here yet. This is still in the beginning phases. But obviously the real focus is to get everybody in the EDO ecosystem here together in a similar location where we can all work together and collaboratively. And you see that very successful, and there's examples here of that. The importance of an innovation hub. Innovation ecosystems in their simplest form are physical or virtual clusters that house innovation activity around specific themes, innovation opportunities. They can include entrepreneurs, universities, government agencies, innovation labs, and accelerators, as well as influencers. And you'll see these examples all around the country. Specifically in Michigan, you'll see Spark is in Ann Arbor. You guys know it's an extremely successful innovation ecosystem. We're mimicking that model here. Mass Challenge is a nationwide and worldwide organization. That's an innovation ecosystem, and all the components of that we're also following. And then there's SCAPE in Durango, Colorado. We're part of Corey Center of Rural Innovation, and SCAPE is one of their previous winners of the venture grant and the capital grant, which we'll talk about in a minute. And this is another model, very successful model. Many of these organizations have spun out thousands of new tech startups and brought millions of dollars of investment into the regions. And so it's not a new concept, but it's a concept that we truly believe in. I know that, working with MEDC, they're really in support of an innovation ecosystem and collaboration between EDOs and the local community. And we're following that same model here. Really, talent attraction strategies, companies and remote workers. This is a amazing place for them to come and start up businesses and be a part of an innovation ecosystem to really accelerate that innovation and that startup mentality. So it's really, plus significant local talent support, having a place where you can go with your idea or your business pivot to get full resources from all EDOs collectively. This is our EDO ecosystem consortium, consists of all of these members. We wrote the Sprint grant. Previously, all of us wrote the Sprint grant together. All of us are working on the SEDS together. All of us are working on these new grants, the capital grant and the venture grant together collectively. And all of these alignments, we've been many conversations working collaboratively together now, more than ever, I think, than before. And that's really just the desire of all these organizations, including ours, to really work hand in hand to identify opportunities and maximize opportunities. Including grants and any initiatives that are happening, as well as supporting each other in marketing. And we've been continuously doing that. And we have meetings regularly now to ensure that we're doing it. If you look at the ecosystem, innovation ecosystem floor plan, this is again conceptual at this point, but this is what it could look like. This is really the IMEX space this is really a co-working, co-office space for innovation and technology. This would be IMEC offices with Inventa NMU offices, and there's a whole bunch of space here for collaborative space and hybrid space. Potentially NMU in here with us, Northern Initiatives, Accelerate UP, LSCP, QPAD, Invest UP, all working collaboratively in the same space. And again, we're really driving towards that and really trying to get everyone in the same similar space and then also redevelop a wonderful downtown location at the same time. When you look at our where we're at right now as an organization, it's really a perfect timing for innovation ecosystem to really develop that. And we're in a really good cash position, both with IMEC and NMU. And we're applying for 2 grants right now. These are actually going to be submitted, and Paulette and I and staff have been working nonstop. The venture grant, we applied for last year, Margaret, and this is one we had a lot of discussion about. We actually are writing this grant with a local organization and doing this in-house. And this is a $1.5 million grant for an innovation ecosystem to create tech scalable startups. We've been reviewed a number of times from Center for Rural Innovation. We received a grant for them to be technically reviewing it. And we've actually sent it now on to the EDA for a technical review. We have a meeting on the 20th for that, and our final submission date is going to be the 25th for this grant. This is a $1.5 million grant to drive dollars into the city of Marquette to create the innovation ecosystem. The great thing about this particular grant is there is a pretty significant allocation for rural, specifically focused. And I think having all the collaboration of the EDO ecosystem partners, as well as support letters from them and matching, cash matching, kind match, there's a whole bunch of detail behind all of that and been super supportive. We have a really great chance to get this one this year. Also, at the same time, this is a capital grant. Capital grant is to create a full alignment between start and scale for capital investment. So this is dollars to outreach to angels and aligning the angel networks in the local region and throughout the state and throughout the United States, as well as venture capital firms and venture capital organizations at the state level and beyond. I'm aligning it to a hub here in the city of Marquette to support capital coming into these startups and these businesses. Many of the local businesses and innovative ideas we've seen, many fall off for low amounts of money. This would drive a lot more into the area. This also includes a crowdfunding platform to drive early stage capital into businesses when they need it the most and when they're most vulnerable. And so these 2 grants, both about 10 pages plus all the financials and everything else, we've detailed it all out, and all the EDO ecosystem partners have worked collaboratively with us to write all of this and put all this together and submit those by the 29th. And is when the final application is done. We don't hinge anything on grants. These would be wonderful to have. To have another, $2 million into the city to help really stimulate this and really drive this innovation ecosystem here would be fantastic. And we're working as hard as we can to do the best job for writing these. There also is some CARES Act funds potentially, again, but I'm not really going to focus on that. If this was to come through and help support the ecosystem here, again, all of these dollars are spread across all of the EDO ecosystem partners that you saw on that previous list. So these would be, shared between all of us to really accelerate everyone in the local community to assist entrepreneurs and businesses here in the city of Marquette. Any questions on that right now?
I had a couple on these grants. Are they specifically for the businesses for capital form, or do you use part of it for overhead, or how are they administered? And who administers it? A financial institution, or will it be Northern Initiatives? Or
yeah, so we would be writing the grants because we're the ones that are the entity, nonprofit entity that would write it. We would administer the funds, and the funds are for overhead costs as well as labor force and outreach mainly. There are some expenses in there for computers, laptops, and technology. But majority of the funds are to offset costs to drive the initiative for the innovation ecosystem and overhead costs for all the organizations in Marquette, EDO organizations.
The organizations, it's not actually grants for the new businesses.
Well, these dollars here actually have a significant amount of money to boost services that we can provide for those organizations, whether it be patent services or talent retention services, grant writing services, all those services. There would be a lot of dollars in there to support services that businesses could come and utilize those services that today they would have to pay for.
It sounds like a wonderful idea. You're doing a good job with it. The other question I had is, are you pretty well set on that building now as far as moving in there? Is that thinking, or is that?
I think it fits the best to align everyone in a similar location. Again, I don't have, this is preliminary, really where we want to go with it. And I think that building is a fantastic opportunity, but there are also fantastic opportunities in other buildings too that we're looking at. I would plan on our next board meeting to bring a proposal to you that my whole board and exec committees and everyone had vetted out and said, here's what we think is the best option. This is just, really more of an awareness right now because we're kind of getting into the details and finalizing all of that. So there are a bunch of wonderful opportunities here in the city of Marquette. This one to me really is the front runner and all that.
I think it's a good idea too, especially in the middle of town, and building that big, that would be used again rather than have it empty. How many square feet were you looking at?
Yeah, so our square footage is about 2,200 square feet on the second floor, which is Inventa NMU, and Smart Zone, which is similar to where we're at today. The lower floor is kind of a more open collaborative space, which we don't have. I'm really focused on technology and innovation, and that's about 1,800 square feet total. Now, there is a 4,000 square foot common area that everyone in the building wants to share. As of right now, and the details, again, this is a preliminary drawings, preliminary stuff we've seen. We haven't really gotten into negotiations yet. The other really cool thing is, the attraction piece. You're a cornerstone building downtown. If I want to attract a young startup here, which I have many right now that are looking to come here and create more jobs, it's really be able to go and say, okay, we have this full EDO ecosystem here, this resource for you as a small business. Say maybe you're coming from California or you're coming from East or West Coast, like North Cross Group. They're in the same building for a reason because it's very visible. And it's really an attraction piece for remote workers and entrepreneurs to come bring them to the area and get their businesses off the ground, but also to take small, new startups and technology startups and bring them to the area to be successful. Really have a visible space that is a really wonderful place for them to come and be a part of it. Helps me a lot with the attraction. So from that perspective, it really is the place to be. I know there's potentially a lot of other plans in that local area for different food establishments and all kinds of stuff to go along with it. That would really create an amazing ecosystem down there, not just a innovation ecosystem, but also a cultural ecosystem, which could continue to develop over time with support. So that really makes a lot of sense to me to have that downtown hub of innovation, creativity, culture, all of that there. So that's why.
Question?
Thank you.
Hi, question?
Mm-hmm.
You said you haven't started the negotiations with Viridia yet. A couple of things that I would add to your list, because you sound like you've really scoped this out, and everything you say about it being the flagstone corner Marquette is true. But a couple of things that have come up during the city commission discussions about that area, and this is a twofold concern. Number one is, please include in your investigation with Viridia the plans with the DDA to increase the number of parking spaces for your employees and visitors, because that is a concern. As Viridia develops that area, the DDA is scrambling right now to identify additional parking spaces. And so your plans for this wouldn't just be your employees, but you would want and encourage a steady flow of foot traffic and vehicle traffic and bike traffic. And I'm not sure that Viridia is the right person to ask about that because they don't control the parking lots, but DDA does. The second thing, if you haven't been in that building, it was built, I think, around the turn of the last century, not this one, but the last one. I don't know, and this is a question for Viridia, how much of that space is accessible to someone in a wheelchair?
It's a great question. I do know the answer to that, Margaret. The section we're talking about is actually that newer section, the back over top of the ATM and behind the ATM. And that does have elevator accessibility to the upper floor, and there is a wheelchair ramp at any transitions in it. I did do that validation. I talked about parking quite a bit, and I know there was some responses come back, but I will definitely dig into that for sure. Thank you. Anything else?
When you talk to Viridia, they're the prime developer of that area. So they, I mean, in terms of you're getting the premier location, nobody can dispute that. It's the rest of the downtown isn't quite ready for that. So good luck.
Thank you very much, Margaret. I appreciate your feedback on that. I'll look into that and make sure I do a full report before we make any decisions. Anybody else? We did spend a ton of time on this, and I'm really excited for to be sitting in a position where we can actually do something like this. It's wonderful, and the support of the LDFA has given us that opportunity, as well as the MEDC. So we're very blessed to be in a position where we can do something like this and have all the support of other EDO partners in their minds and their initiatives to do the same. This could be an amazing win for the city of Marquette if we do this correctly. So your guidance, as well as my board guidance and all the boards of all the other EDO partners, I think coming together and utilizing all that knowledge will help push this thing through and actually get this done. I talked about the funding of it and report. So, I can't take into account the grants. I have to go without the grants. But to do this entirely, to be in the space and to have the resources and services and platforms, a collaborative platform, the innovation ecosystem process platform, potential crowdfunding platforms, and all the dollars associated with it. This is really what the 3-year performa looks like. Moving in, this is a little bit conservative. We may have some more cash than this going into it, but we did pick a very conservative number here of 650. Hopefully we'll have more like 7 to 750. Running it through with rent, everything else. The first year we do run a negative budget the first year by 141, 169. Outcome cash conservative, 488. You see there's a lot of dollars in building platforms, professional services. There's a lot of dollars in promotion and marketing of this process and getting the information out there so people know where we're at and what we're doing. But then you see in the second year, we come back to positive by 31. We do retain that comfort level of about $500,000 cash balance, which is where we always would like to be, just so we ensure we have funds available for grant opportunities. And we never really want to dip too far to where we have any risk. We want to stay very conservative. And then you can see by year 3, we're back in that positive again, as we like to be. And this is pretty detailed out in terms of being able to pull up. Now, if we get the grants, it pumps a significant amount more into this EDA grant income line, and I would be able to show that in the financials, going forward in our next board meeting if we do get those grants, which we're going to work really hard to do. We did talk about the Sprint grant. This was really, we did write this one, Margaret, ourselves, and we did not pay any service fees for this at all because we were not awarded the grant. The EDA Sprint application, there was $300 million of grants applied for through the this resiliency and pandemic resiliency. Not one rural community was funded, which is quite disappointing. We spent a lot of time on this application and a lot of our internal effort to get that in. It was $750,000 grant to do a full UP pandemic resiliency planning program for all the local governments and organizations and community and businesses to build pandemic resiliency planning. And we weren't funded on that one. This is really disappointing for us. Corey's going to go back and see if there aren't some CARES Act dollars where they could apply more dollars towards rural communities, but we weren't chosen for that grant. These 2 grants are the ones that are due. We talked about them in detail, what they are and what they'll do for us. They'll give us a whole bunch of additional dollars for an innovation ecosystem and collaboration between EDO partnerships, not only in Marquette, but also UP-wide. And then the EDA Build to Scale and Capital Challenges as a funding program from start to scale, and building a true hub here for venture capital, angel, and crowdfunding.
Can I make one comment?
Yes.
About the grants you didn't get? No one expects 100% success in grants. I never heard of any organization, but I would follow up with our representative in Washington with a letter letting them know you applied for the entire UP, you didn't get it, and no rural community was funded, and ask them to follow up with these agencies, because they can make some noise that we can't. And if they skipped us this time, they might skip us the next time, and that's not fair. So I appreciate very much your hard work in doing this. Just please let our representatives know, and Sarah Kembenzi know as well, that no rural community was funded, because on the other side of the ball game, the people who run the Lake Superior Watershed Partnership snagged a coastal grant for the stretch of Lakeshore Boulevard, and there were only 2 non-ocean coastal grants in the entire US, and we got one of those. So it might be a different agency, it might be different people. I don't know what the deal is, but I think it's worthwhile letting them know we didn't get this one.
You bet. That's a great point, Margaret. And we did, through Central Rural Innovation, has 20 different rural communities around the United States when we're in a cohort together and writing these grants together. And they are also, they're gonna go back to the EDA and say, you know, why were no rural communities funded? We have 20 rural communities that applied for this grant, and not one of them got it. And these are areas, I mean, we're representing what, 32%, 29% of the whole entire state of Michigan. This isn't a Marquette City centric thing. This is the whole UP that we were representing in this grant. And so I'll make sure and do that, Margaret, and continue to follow up with Corey to make sure that that we're being heard here in the UP for sure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Some project updates. I'll go through these quick. So Hitch Hatchet, this is a local entrepreneur in second round negotiation with Gerber Tools. We did that and looking for a final deal to license this out for him. That's a fantastic project. I'm super excited about it. Med Pro Shares is going for second round of BAF grant and is as first round negotiation with the venture capital fund. And this is going to be moving forward. I do believe this will be our first big scalable tech startup. Swim Smart Tech, we talked about that last time, is a shoreline safety and water safety technology. Actually now has the National Weather Service on board to be able to do National Weather Service data. If you guys watching the media at all, there's 2 projects that they were able to get in Lower Michigan, one in Frankfurt, one in Muskegon, and they're installing those this summer. And then obviously we're on online collaboration with Invest UP for next round of funding and scaling that organization here in the UP. That's a collaborative effort with us and MTech Smart Zone, working closely together to get this off the ground and get it launched. This technology has the ability to scale the whole entire state and create a new digital beachfront, as well as working with the broadband initiative. They can actually be an endpoint provider, Michigan beachfronts. Pretty exciting. This is a great project. These are all, Gary, we talked about this one early on when it was still on paper. And you guys in the LDFA support this one. And this is a real project. They've got real product going on the beachfronts in Lower Michigan. And then as soon as they do those 2 pilot sites with the National Weather Service data on board now, they can actually alert beachfronts well before inclement weather hits the shoreline and stop the drownings that are happening in Michigan. Super exciting. This is all you guys, LDFA, and your support through our organization gave this young startup the next steps and tools that they needed to become a real viable business and really start building a technical support team and service team, which will be great jobs. When we talked about the talent review, operations and finance, you got to meet Lindsay today, and Lindsay's been an amazing addition to our staff. The entrepreneur and outreach services now is where I've organized our whole entire organization. On this side of the business, this is really our outreach and kind of, I don't want to say sales, but support for our local community members, outreach, education, and services. These 2 positions have been vacant now for a couple of months. And this actual one position, the outreach director was vacant now almost for the whole entire year. I've taken that over and really used my time to organize the internals of this part. Marketing and communications. We have a program and events manager. If the grants are getting close to looking like they're going to come through, we really need this position to help us really drive that on the events manager and events and program management side. So these are 2 positions that I haven't filled just because I really wanted to organize that part of the business and make sure that we had all this stuff aligned before I brought people in to train. But we will be looking to hire both these positions. And, we have really been able to focus on some really great talent with Nicole and Kristen. We're both boomerangs back to the UP. We got to bring them back up here working with us again. Both, UP natives. And so we're hoping that there'll maybe some more really great talent out there that's looking to come back to the UP Board responsibility statements, I just want to zip through real quick. Create a solid innovation ecosystem locally, regionally, and statewide. Serve our tech-based entrepreneurs and local businesses and help start new startups and jobs, as well as expand local businesses through innovation. Create dynamic entrepreneurial events, activities, and education programs. Focus communication to many through multiple channels, mainly on digital and social media. And if you guys would like to see our media report, it's incredible. What's coming back from Nicole and the analytics that she does, it's incredible. And then create opportunities that generate revenue or access to capital, then build support infrastructures and really create a capital plan for organizations. And then obviously, most importantly, great stewards of our funds. Effectively manage the use of our funds because they are provided by the local community through the LDFA. Super critical for us to make sure that every one of these dollars that we do goes forth to support entrepreneurialism and innovation in our local community. And that's all that I had for my presentation. Is there any more questions associated with that?
When will we start? When will we start seeing this on WLUC TV and the Mining Journal doing stories on this?
Yeah, well, you're going to see the Make It Marquette. I actually did an ABC 10 news for tonight. I've got TV 6 tomorrow. I've got another TV 6 organization contacting me for interviews. So all of this stuff is in process now, and we're talking about it. Starting with
you're going to be doing the Ryan report, Joe.
Yeah, the Ryan report. Thanks, Paulette. We're doing the Ryan report and sharing with the community all the things that we're doing to build up to the end of the year, and then we're planning on having everything in place for as we cross over in September, October is going to be full bore ahead with all the initiatives. So we're really excited about having the opportunity to do it. We got everything organized and ready to go, and we've got some amazing feedback on the Make It Marquette campaign, and we'll continue to drive that throughout the summer.
Just a semantics point, perhaps not use the phrase crossover, perhaps use the phrase as the state continues to reopen, because
Yes.
Crossover has a different meaning for a bunch of different people. And I know exactly what you meant was we were moving to the next stage, but as the state continues to reopen, because
that's really
this
the key.
is fantastic news, and I don't want it to get lost in a phrase. It really is fantastic news.
Thank you, Margaret. And you're absolutely right. When I say that, I really do mean, things beginning to get back to kind of some state of normalcy, and we're ready for it. I mean, we have been working hard, working, overtime and weekends to get everything prepared to get ready for when we get to open back up again. We're going to go full bore into this. And we're so excited about it to have the opportunity to, get back out there and really make a big impact. I think we made time. Anything else from anybody?
Any other questions? And Joe, I thank you for the presentation. It was very informative and I think great for our board to see. I like the format too. I think that's really helpful for us to see the key high level points. So thank you for that. Any other questions from our board for Joe or the team?
And I can add too, you guys all have my information. If you want any more information about any of this stuff, you can call me, send me an email. I mean, I'd be happy to stop by and talk about it. I've got a chance to talk to most people, but if there's any more, I'd be more than happy to go into detail on anything you'd like.
Have these slides already been sent to us late today, or are we going to get them after the meeting?
They were sent to you earlier.
Okay, I'm sorry. My computer was hacked this afternoon, which is why I keep paying attention to my phone, because apparently I'm trying to get people interested in some new food supplement. So I'm telling everybody, no, it's not me. It's not me. And it's like, I really want these slides because they're really great slides. But it's
I can shoot you another one too, Margaret. No problem.
I appreciate it, and I apologize. Normally I put my phone away. This is very good.
Thank you.
And
we've been working hard.
This should be also on the city website too. I don't know how we get it there, but there should be a link to it on the city website because this is huge.
Awesome. I would love to do that. And I'd love to, again, any other meetings that I can be a part of to share the information with at the city level, I'd be more than happy to come in.
Are you booked in front of the city commission yet? Usually the heads of the groups are, you might want to reach out to the city manager's office and ask when you can be booked.
I think in June we have an update, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. You're right, Leslie. Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Because this is rare to go. Good deal.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Joe or the group from the Smart Zone?
Thank you guys so much. We so appreciate the support, and we can't thank you enough. And we're gonna take you guys' support, and we're gonna really take it on the community and do some great things. We're super excited.
Just to follow up on Margaret's question, June 28th is currently the date. The LDFA and Smart Zone are scheduled to give their update to the City Commission.
Just so everybody
Okay.
knows, by then the city should be allowing people to come back into commission meetings. So you might be able to give it live is what I'm saying.
Awesome. I'd love that. I see Frank, you're waving your hand there.
Yes. May I add a comment? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't get off of mute. Yes, please, thank you.
Thank you. I missed my cue 45 minutes ago during the comment section. I'm new to this, so I didn't realize it was the appropriate time for me to speak up. My name is Frank Lenz. I've been a resident of the UP for most all my life. I'm here in the Marquette area for most of the past 30 plus years. And I'm involved in a research project for the total final disposal of all radioactive nuclear waste. And I have good support from national and a few international scientists that this is a great idea in their opinion. The Smart Zone in Joe Thill and this whole operation is the best active, tangible support I've had for the many years that I've been researching this. And I'm excited and grateful and all wound up to make it happen in the near future before I get too old to think about it. And I love the concept. For what it's worth, I feel completely sure that I have a valid proposal for all this. And I've gotten enough support through the years to realize that there's not a genuine, serious scientific objection to it. But what is necessary, of course, is political and public support for the whole concept, and then scientific validation for it all. And I'm extremely happy for the kind of help and contacts and deep and widespread connections that have been made available to me through the Smart Zone operation. I thank Fred Taccolini for first putting me in touch with this. I knew Fred many years ago when we were both a whole lot younger, and I'm very grateful for this program and what you're doing and the help you make available. I'd go on for another half hour, but I know our time is limited. Any questions, let me know someday, now or later. Thank you. I'm very grateful for all the support this Smart Zone people and the people directing it are offering to the community in general, and right now to me and my work. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Does anyone have any questions for Frank or comments? I appreciate that feedback very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll open the floor if there are any other comments from the LDFA board members. I would welcome those at this time.
One thing I had to share. In my private practice of patent law, I often get phone calls from people, and I had one in the last 2 weeks from a gentleman I worked with about 25 years ago who has a new idea. And I said, you know, I can do this, this, and this, but you really need a Smart Zone. Do you have an event at your local university? And he wasn't aware of one, so I gave him the number for ours, and I said, look, you and your wife can relocate any place. Come on up here. I work from home and I talk to people all over the world. So when you build up your list of resources for remote working, I'd be happy to serve as a resource for that, because I've been remote working in Marquette for the last 5 years very successfully. And I'm recommending your organization to people outside of the area, saying, if you don't have one of these set up where you are, work with us, because we'll get you up here and you can have a view of the lake while you're doing all of this. So that's just where I don't usually combine my professional life and my committee work, but it just seemed like too good a fit.
I think we all appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. We do have a packet too, and we put together a toolbox. Make sure that Nicole gets to send out to the LDFA board that has all the links and all the other resources associated with it. And we set that up, and I'll make sure and get that to you guys after this call. So you have all those links and all the resources and all the talking points. So if you do encounter people, the best thing we have is our networks up here. And the more that we can network and communicate with people about it, and give them the information, the better opportunity we have to bring great, talented people to the area, to be here and live here with us. So.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, just a reminder, our next meeting will be July 19th. So we'll circulate agenda and materials prior to that, but just so we all have that on our calendar. Thank you everyone for your time. I appreciate all the comments, and I think this was a great discussion. So I appreciate everyone's time and all the work that went into getting us all updated. I think it's very good. With no other comments, I'll look for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Madam Chairperson, I make a motion that we adjourn our meeting.
Okay, could I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so at 5:07, we'll adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? No, of course not. Okay, thank you again. And thanks, Gary, and everyone at the city for getting us set up with the Zoom call.
Thank you so much.